Why do certain periods push things forward, whether you are ready or not? Why do you suddenly feel the urgency to make a move, make a decision without having any more information than yesterday, without receiving any more clarity or gaining any more certainty? New roles, new decisions, new directions, not because everything is suddenly clear, but because something shifts and you can feel it. On this channel, according to the planets, we look at those shifts as changes in the environment, as changes in the conditions, not just random events. And this is what's currently forming in the sky in a part known as Aries, and the event is normally referred to as Aries Stellium of 2026. It didn't begin in 2026. It's been building as Saturn and Neptune approached this point in 2025, crossed into it, backtracked, and now finally reached 0 degrees alignment and moved on. As more planets enter this area, including Mars, Mercury, the Sun, and the Moon, the effect becomes immediate. You start to see where you can move and where a delay is no longer neutral. What does that actually mean, Aries? In plain terms, this is the part of the experience where something begins, not as an idea, but as an action. It's the moment where you stop preparing, you stop thinking about it, and actually step into something new when you take action. A conversation that shifts direction, a decision that becomes real because you act on it, a situation where you're no longer observing, you're involved. Clarity follows action here, not the other way around. In the sky, Aries is the section where the sun begins its annual cycle, the point where light reaches balance and then starts increasing. 0 degrees marks the start of that cycle. In mathematical and scientific terms, 0 is a reset point, a defined beginning from which a new sequence unfolds. When multiple planets move through the same area like they are now, the effect isn't abstract, it's real. It brings emphasis to beginnings that require action in real time, now. What's happening now is not a single moment. This formation has been building for some time. In 2025, Saturn and Neptune approached the same area of the sky and crossed into Aries, but then through retrograde motion, they moved back, then re-entered Aries again, reinforcing the same point again. By early 2026, they finally got to 0 degrees Aries, concentrating pressure at the very start of the new cycle. Then the faster moving planets arrived one by one: Mars, Mercury, the Sun, the Moon, all in the same section of the sky. You're not dealing with one moment. You're inside of a sequence of events, sequence of activations, all pointing to the same place. What this often looks like in real life is repeated activation around the same theme. A conversation that comes up again and again, and each time requires a clear response from you. An opportunity that keeps appearing and returns, maybe in a slightly different form, but until you either act on it or let it pass. A decision you've been postponing that keeps becoming relevant again, with less room to delay each time. Situations where you are asked to step in, speak up, take action, not once, but repeatedly. The details may change, but the requirement doesn't. And it tends to become harder and harder to ignore each time. The way to work with a period like this is not to rush into everything and not to avoid it either. It is to recognize where action is already being required and to respond directly. Not everywhere at once, not based on pressure or urgency, but where the signal is consistent, where something keeps returning and asking for a clear step forward, Because in a period like this, movement brings clarity, and delay tends to make things more complicated, not less. Before going through the rising signs, one important note. This gives you a general orientation where the activation is happening and what it tends to involve. If you know your rising sign, you can follow it directly. If you don't, just listen. I'm pretty sure you will recognize the area of life that is being activated for you. If you recognize it, that is useful. But it is still a general, broad layer. Other planetary cycles and alignments in your chart add detail, they change emphasis, and sometimes they can change context. That's where a more specific analysis becomes relevant, looking at timing and conditions as they apply to your specific chart. All right, let's go. Rising signs. Aries, this is happening in your first house. This is about you directly, your role, your direction, how you show up. You may feel repeated pressure to act, initiate, or step into something new without waiting for full certainty. Taurus rising. This is happening in your 12th house. This is less visible, but still active. Internal decisions, endings, things you've been holding privately. You may notice repeated situations that require you to let something go or prepare for a shift before it becomes external. Gemini rising. This is happening in your 11th house. This connects to networks, groups, and future direction. You may see repeated opportunities or decisions involving people, collaborations, or long-term goals that require a clear step forward. Cancer rising. This is happening in your 10th house. This is your public role, responsibilities, and direction in the world. You may experience repeated pressure around visibility, leadership, or decisions that define where you're going professionally. Leo rising. This is happening in your 9th house. This connects to expansion, learning, teaching, publishing, or moving into something broader. You may see repeated openings that require you to step beyond your current framework and act on a larger direction. Virgo rising. This is happening in your 8th house. This involves shared responsibilities, financial or personal entanglements, and deeper commitments. You may encounter repeated situations that require direct action around agreements, obligations, or how you handle what is shared. Libra rising. This is happening in your 7th house. This centers on one-on-one relationships and agreements. You may see repeated situations that require clarity, decisions, or action within partnerships, personal or professional. Scorpio rising. This is happening in your 6th house. This relates to daily structure, work, and how things function on a practical level. You may experience repeated pressure to change routines, take on responsibilities, or act on something that requires consistency. Sagittarius rising. This is happening in your 5th house. This connects to creation, expression, and what you actively choose to pursue. You may notice repeated opportunities to act on something you want, but that requires you to step forward and take ownership of it. Capricorn rising. This is happening in your 4th house. This is your foundation, home, family, and underlying stability. You may see repeated situations that require action around your base of operations and decisions that affect your sense of security. Aquarius rising. This is happening in your 3rd house. This involves communication, decisions, and immediate environment. You may experience repeated situations that require you to speak, decide, or act quickly on something that keeps coming up. Pisces rising. This is happening in your 2nd house. This relates to resources, income, and what you rely on. You may notice repeated pressure around financial decisions, values, or how you define and secure what supports you. This concentration happens over a defined window as planets move through the same point over a matter of weeks, not indefinitely. As that movement continues, the pressure becomes less concentrated. But what was set in motion during this period doesn't disappear. The action taken or avoided define the direction that continues to unfold afterwards. During the peak of it, one thing becomes clear. Avoiding action doesn't remove pressure, it prolongs it. Responding directly often changes the situation. Not because it makes everything easier, but because it moves things forward. What matters most in a period like this is not trying to respond to everything, but recognizing what keeps returning and requires a clear step forward from you. This is not a single moment. This is not a one-off. This is a sequence. And how you move within it shapes what actually holds going forward. If you want to understand how this applies more precisely based on your own timing and chart structure, that is something I look at in more detail through private analysis. Otherwise, pay attention to what repeats. That's where your next move is.